Hello, this is Lisa LaRose here on Connect to Love. I'm joined by the wonderful and amazing Michael J. Russ. I want to also welcome Scott Robinson with us today. Scott had joined us on a previous show. Scott is an amazing clairvoyant, clairsentient medium, medical intuitive, and also an empath. He has been a reader and a healer. He does Reiki and works with his own unique method with the 7 rays. So we wanted to continue our conversation about creating your own inner light, and who better than to join us in this conversation but Scott. So welcome, Michael and Scott. How are you both today?
Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa and Michael. I'm fine, too. Thank you.
Oh, that's great. I'm so glad. So, when we talk about an inner light, your inner light is something that is an expression of your true essence. It's not only just a subtle energy that moves through your being. It actually is something that can be felt. To me, it carries a unique and unparalleled blueprint. It's just like your own unique signature. And how you express your light can be done through many different ways. And, I believe that on our soul's journey, we go through different challenges, different gifts are given to us. And as we go through these different lessons, I believe that our inner light shines brighter and it has that capacity. So, in cultivating your inner light and making it stronger and being able to increase it, I believe is deeply connected not only to your inner purpose, but also we're going to get a little bit into the science of the pineal gland, which is the third eye, or also known as the seat of the soul. So it's a big topic, and I think that I've got 2 masters that can join me in this conversation. And, I think that depending where you are on your journey, your soul's radiance is sometimes it feels more safe, more secure. Other times I think that we can sort of hide our inner light. And so I'm curious, Scott, I'll just invite you first to join in this conversation. In your journey throughout the years, what do you see in the teachings and the books that you've studied? What do you know about the inner light and how to create and allow it to grow and shine more brightly?
Thank you, Lisa and Mike. That is a big topic. Well, for me, whenever I meditate, I always feel like I'm more in touch with the pineal gland and the inner light than any other part while I'm doing meditation or anything. So the pineal gland reacts together with the so-called light of matter. And so the pineal gland himself produces melatonin, which is actually, in some ways, causes the person to be unconscious or asleep. But what that does, in my opinion, is it opens you up to the soul light, which comes straight down into your soul, through soul. Does that make sense? Or?
Yeah, it does. It does.
So for me, whenever I'm, and some of the experience people can try themselves, if you're ever really in a dark room by yourself, and it's not very much light at all, look around you, kind of like the inner eye, and see if you don't feel a fuzzy light around the head of your head, and more of your body, but mostly around your head. In my opinion, that's the pineal gland right there. And I've seen it many times, but it's very subtle. But once you see it, you'll see it forever, and you'll say, oh, that light is being produced inside of myself, right? And that's really what we're going with the pineal gland, is you're actually producing light inside your body.
So,
wow.
So Scott, just to be clear on this, you're talking about while you're as you're meditating, are you talking about eyes closed and kind of looking around, or you're opening your eyes and looking around the room?
Okay, yeah, I mean, you can be not meditating at all, but if you're in a darkened room, you can see this diffused light around your head. I've seen it many times, and I've talked to other people who just don't notice it, right? Because it's very subtle. I mean, you can almost, when you focus onto it, you can actually walk through a dark room. I've seen it myself. I've done it many times. And that, to me, and I'm just conjecturing here, but I believe the light from the pineal gland is what lights up that low light around your head and gives you to see. That also is the light of consciousness, or the light of soul, if you will.
Okay, that's interesting. I'll have to be cognizant of that in a dark room. Very, very cool, actually. Do you have any other science to kind of give us about that? I know we watched the video from the Austrian guy, which was pretty brilliant, that I still have not completely and totally absorbed yet, Lisa and Scott. But yeah, it takes a little while to process that because it's so cool.
Yeah, the pineal gland itself, for our audience members, is just a pine cone-shaped gland in the endocrine system. It's really only about the size of a raisin, and it's responsible for producing melatonin, which regulates our sleep cycle. But it's also very much connected to converting serotonin into melatonin, and it's related to oxytocin, which is related to happiness, which we have delved into. I would love to hear, they say from the research that there are actually little calcite microcrystals containing calcium, carbon, and oxygen within that pineal gland, and that it has the ability, using when we take a deep breath in, it creates like a pressure. So as Scott was saying with the meditation, that pressure actually creates a piezoelectric effect. And if you've ever been in an airport where they have a floor or somewhere, it's a pressure that the resulting pressure on the quartz crystals actually produces electricity. And so we actually see that inside the human brain. And I'd love, Scott, for you to sort of comment on that. You're more science-based than I am, so I would really welcome some more details about that. And if possible, you sound a little muted, so if you can speak up, because I don't want anybody to miss anything that you're saying. It's so important.
Okay, give me just a second. I'm messing up this mic.
Make a little bit of an adjustment.
There you go.
Yeah.
Is that better?
Michael, is it better?
Yes, it is. It is absolutely better.
Yeah.
I have a question. Though, because the pineal gland helps regulate melatonin, and there are a lot of our listeners out there who may be taking sleep products that contain melatonin. Mm-hmm. And I have been told by my natural retailer, a guy that has a certified dispenser of natural supplements and like that, if you take melatonin on a regular basis, that it can interfere with your body's own ability to make melatonin. So my question, perhaps Scott can shed some light on this, is that possible? And I'm concerned about now how that might affect people's pineal gland activity and their ability to connect with their own happiness going forward.
Yeah, I think that's
other people who
there's a lot of people that talk about doing the melatonin. I don't use it myself, but to me it seems kind of counterintuitive, because melatonin helps you sleep, right, or become unconscious. But what really happens when you sleep is your consciousness goes to your soul levels, right? Kind of leaves your body through your pineal gland, right? And the pineal itself is actually like the junction between soul consciousness and your waking consciousness. So it seems like you're at too close cross purposes here, but for me, whenever I told you earlier about trying to see the diffused light, I always, when I do that, have my eyes wide open in a room or whatever, but I kind of focus in the forehead or on my pineal gland. And that's where I get that subtle light that comes out. It's very noticeable once you see it. And you'll say, oh, wow, I had no idea. The pineal itself is connected to your root chakra. And so that in and of itself, the energy of matter has its own light itself of matter. And when you take that and run it through the pineal gland, I believe that's where you get this light being generated through the matter itself into the pineal gland. I think because there's been studies here that people say, well, there's no light being produced inside the human body. And I believe that there is light being produced. It's very subtle. And once you begin to see it, then you'll understand how your body works more.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. Very much so.
Very eye-opening. Because
no pun intended.
Yeah, really. True. I can pull that off every once in a while. Yeah, yeah. I find it amazing. This is a kind of I'm a student when it comes to this conversation right about now, because this aspect of myself is just been sprung on me in the last few weeks, and I really haven't had a whole lot of time to again process it, absorb it in a way that I could and basically do this exercise that Scott has talked about. But I will definitely do that here in the coming days, especially when I at night. Dark room sounds really cool, and connect with it. But as far as happiness goes, I had no idea, like maybe our listeners, that the pineal gland had this much to do with our own happiness, and now connected to my root chakra. So I appreciate the eye-opening again to that, and that this it's connection. I'm blown away right about now. I guess that's where I am.
Yeah, no,
with all of this.
Yeah,
and it's cool as all get out.
Yeah. So for our listeners, a lot of people have heard of the chakras. They're basically, 7 energy centers within the body, and I believe that it's our connection between both the inner and outer world. And as you're passing and breathing that energy up from the base of the spine, the root chakra, up through and bring it all the way up through the head, it passes through that pineal gland, through that third eye energy center. Scott, would you care to share a little bit more about the energy centers and how that when you pass the energy from the base up through the top of the head, it actually can connect us and help us create more of our own inner light?
Yeah, that's a good topic right there. All the chakras are really, our glands are external representations of the chakras, right? And so the pineal gland is really external representation of your head center, right? 1,000 petal lotus. Now it's directly related to your root chakra, which is inner of matter itself. And so what I'm saying, and what my read leads me to, is that a lot of people's in this society, per se, in our technical society, the pineal gland has calcified, and so there's actually covering with calcium and other salts, if you will, and a lot of that causes all kinds of things, depression, which is many people suffer from. You really can't get the full connection between your soul and your mental part of your body through your root chakra. And so with those energies being detrimental, then you're going to have all kinds of problems in a person's human body, which we're seeing a lot of. Besides this depression, there's other people that really are having harder time connecting with their higher self. Everybody can do this much easily if we had a perfectly convened and conditioned pineal gland, but we don't, because a lot of what's been put in our environment, and some of it, I believe, frankly, was done on purpose, especially with fluoride, which is one of the biggest problems with the pineal gland.
Yeah, fluoride definitely does cause calcification of the pineal gland, and unfortunately, they've put it in water. It's in toothpaste. It's in so many different things, and it travels through. I think they say that the fluoride, chlorine, and bromine, which also affect the thyroid, cause a lot of different challenges. And so, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, because from what my understanding is, iodine. I take a nascent iodine that's from Global Healing that I really love. That helps to decalcify the pineal gland, as does turmeric and I believe apple cider vinegar. Are there any other foods that you know of, or other ways that that our listeners might, things that they could utilize to decalcify their pineal gland?
There's a lot of different things that you do, but what you just mentioned are kind of the easiest parts of it. But a lot of people don't take into consideration that the actual act of meditation helps clear and open your pineal gland.
That's wonderful.
And so people ask me all the time, well, how do we meditate? And we're trying to get to the highest part of ourselves. But people rarely refer to the pineal gland toward meditation itself. And the act of meditation is very large part of our pineal upkeep, if you will. And I think that also...
Now that's interesting.
Some of the calcification of the pineal gland has already been noted. You have basically two streams of energy in your body, one at the heart, the energy of life, and of consciousness in the head, in the pineal center. Now, when you go to sleep, that string or that stream of consciousness removes you from your body, so to speak, but the pineal gland keeps the heated there. And if there's a problem with the pineal gland, then you simply can't become completely conscious or connected to consciousness. Does that make sense? No?
Yeah, absolutely.
It does. It's all connected, but I think that the important takeaway from what you just said for me is that, a lot of people, a lot of our listeners, of course, wherever they live in the world, have been subject to fluoride their entire lives. There are other pollutants and other things, but the takeaway for me is that if you do get into meditation and make a practice of it, that you can counter those negative influences, those negative chemicals that you may not be able to completely eliminate from your life. You have, in other words, I'm about control. So I like to be able to control my mind, my body, my spirit. And meditation evidently now has another purpose in my life, to help control the function of my own body beyond what I thought it would do. With regard to now the focus on my pineal gland. And I can focus on that now. And the fact that it's connected to the root chakra, which is really, really, I believe, important. And you might be able to shed some light on this, Scott. I was told years ago when I had back problems that the lower back, where a lot of people suffer from pain, lower back pain, is connected to your power center. And my view, I pretty much call that my root chakra, okay? So the question I have is, are we looking at a situation where there's so many people experiencing back pain because of the disconnection, because their root chakra is perhaps not as energized as it should? Is there some connection there that you perhaps have witnessed or experienced?
I mean, I think that makes a lot of sense. I hadn't thought of it per se. Obviously, if your power chakra or your root has to be connected to all your chakras, and when you start having devitalized chakras, then the power can't really completely traverse the chakras down to the root part of yourself, and that is in fact your power center, right? So the power of within your body here to perform correctly. And so having back problems, to me, is just a spiritual sign, if you will, of a higher condition in the human being itself. However, with the pineal gland, I mean, it really kind of all goes with that.
Awesome.
Wow.
I appreciate the explanation, but yeah, it just again helps us understand that everything's connected, and the energy centers of your body, all the chakras. There is a lot of people, I think, take your chakras for granted, is because they don't really know about them and what they do and the value they have to you. So this is incredibly valuable to me, and I hope it is to our listeners as well.
Right. So I have a question, Scott. So I know that the pineal gland is a light receptor, so that even though it's inside our brains and it's not, it's still like the eye is visible to us. It actually does receive light, and then from what you're saying, it allows us to emanate light as well. So I guess my question is, if somebody were trying to go into a meditation to try to bring in more light into their being, and also being able to be more able to emanate that light and share it with other people, is there a method or a breathing technique, or is there toning or chanting? What practice would you recommend for somebody that was beginning to want to try to cultivate this and grow their inner light?
I mean, I have different types of meditation that I do for my own self, but for what helps the human body overall is that you have that soul light, which is now being distributed through the pineal gland to the body. And that's an external representation of a higher spiritual reality, if you will. And so when you take the soul light and use the light from that in the pineal gland, you're setting up like a searchlight. And so people talk about being, meditating and getting higher with themselves. Basically what you're doing is you're opening up the eye to the spiritual eye inside your body, which gives you information, gets you to a higher level of consciousness. But you have to have that through the light of matter, which is the root chakra. And that's a light of itself. Now, I believe when I told earlier about seeing light, subtle light around the head, I think that's a mix of soul light and light of matter itself, the root chakra. And it's very subtle, like I said, but once you see it, you will not unsee it, so to speak.
Wow.
You'll be able to see it from now. And I've been walking around like in dark at night, and I just see this light around my head. It's weird. It's almost like you can see with it. But that is just symbolic of the seeing we do as we do meditation, and when we get at a higher level, we're conscious with our consciousness. We're able to make the body chakra system, if you will, you'll take the chakras and you will make them align in such a way that the energy flows from top to bottom and bottom to top. This is not anything associated with Kundalini or anything like that. That's a different type of energy per se that has to go through the chakra system and eventually will dissolve the web between your chakras, and you'll have one perfect human being. That's a different light from the light of Kundalini. Many people mistake that, and it's not the same thing, in my opinion.
Awesome. Love it. Appreciate that. It's pretty detailed, but awesome.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
It leaves you speechless. For me, anyway.
It leaves me thinking about all the things that I really want to be doing. In terms of connection, it's just opened up a whole new doorway for me.
I mean, everything. The problem with the pineal gland, if we're talking about the science of it a little bit, is that our substances in our bodies, our food supply is tainted. It has been for quite a while. But in the last 75 years, especially processed foods, etc. And so what is the reason? I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but however, I have to think that there's a reason why the calcification is going around on humans worldwide, and it's on the higher technologically societies versus the non-one. And so what is that about? Because as you become more mental, and the world and people, humanity as a whole is doing that, then there's a problem with the power here that kind of has to be toned down. I don't think that should be done. And again, I'm not a big conspiracy theorist, but there seems to me a reason why our pineal gland and other parts of our body are being put to the point where they're actually just not working anymore. And so you're dumbing down. I mean, I hate to say it, the term, but you're kind of dumbing down humanity as a whole. And what is that?
Good point.
If you do that, then what happens to the mentality of people or humanity as a whole? You simply are unable to have manifest destiny, if you will, with your own consciousness, part of the group soul. And so why is that? I don't know. You guys would opine about that. What would be doing that if you had an opinion about it?
We could theorize. Yeah. We could theorize it's compliance. We could theorize compliance because because that conspiracy theory has been out there about the world out there, the structure of the world, because in the United States 70% of the world is consumer based, or that in most societies now are consumer based, and compliance in school, I take it this way. I in my view, the one thing that is not being done in schools is teaching independent thinking, teaching reason, teaching people to question why. And in your own situation as a human, we have to do that. I mean, if we're going to get back to oneness instead of separation, we've got to start asking why much more often, in my view. Because oneness is what it's all about. Oneness of connection. We've figured that out. We know that is the reason why we're here. And connection. There was a recent study just done. I don't know whether it was Harvard or Stanford. It might have been Stanford. And the study was about happiness as it relates to what we do as human beings. And it's amazing they spend money on this because the result of the study, the result of the study was that the one thing that makes people happiest, most people don't do, and that is relational connection. Relational connection, they determined, after this big study and all this money spent, that the one thing that's going to make you happier in your life right now is greater relational connection. all the way through the day you die. Greater relational connection. This is the problem with our elderly community. Less relational connection, more separation, and with regard to digital world, less relational connection, less direct eye-to-eye, person-to-person relational connection. That's what's missing. And that's causing so many problems in the world today.
Yeah,
causing so many problems.
I think, too, Michael, and we've talked about this before, that oftentimes when we go into a group of people and we're not very confident about who we are as an individual, we tend to dim down our light. We tend to be less than what we are, so that we can sort of conform and get along. And it's a challenge sometimes to say, no, you know what, I'm going to shine. I'm going to stick to what I believe in as the truth. I just saw a very interesting video from a young man this morning who quit school, dropped out of school when he was 17 because he had an idea and a vision for a business. And he overheard one of the teachers say about him and his mother, well, that's what happens when you have a child that is raised by a single parent. They drop out of school. And
wow.
Now I think he's worth like $30 million. He went to his mother and he said, I have a vision for a business and I don't believe that school is going to help me any longer. And she supported his decision. And now he honors her. And I thought, oh my God, that's so powerful. So powerful. But we talk about thought viruses and how if he would have anchored into that, it could have changed and altered the course of what. But he knew he had a passion, he had an enthusiasm, he had a stronger connection to his own inner light than anybody's thought viruses or beliefs about him. And I thought it was phenomenal. I'll send you both a connection to his story because it's just.
I think that is
blown away.
That is. Yeah, it's a function of, again, his mother, brilliant person, brilliant soul. To the thought viruses that are out there right now with regard to school and what you should do are really, really powerful. They're really powerful. I mean, they're backed up by laws in many states that you have to go to school. If you don't go to school, a parent can be brought up on charges. They can be basically they've made it illegal to as a parent not send your kid to school. Well, why is that? Why do schools not have the opportunity? Why do kids in school not have the opportunity to discover what their own gifts and talents are? All those programs that used to help, they're all gone, and now it's just down to the basics and testing. It's all about testing and all about test scores because that's how money's received. And so when we talk about a mother like this, a single mother that is that brilliant to listen instead of saying, no, you better go to school, don't listen to that nonsense. Whatever you got going on in your head is nonsense. You can do that later. You need to finish your school, your degree. By the way, it'd be interesting to see what is his business? Did you
he started a marketing company. He I think he showed a picture of his first client. I think within the first month he made like $3,000. So he's like, I can do this. It's a very, very interesting young man. I think he's 22 now, and he's worth $30 million. I've got to applaud him.
Of course,
definitely. Mm-hmm.
Most importantly, because he's supporting his mother. He's honoring his mother, and for allowing him to believe it, because she believed in him enough to be able to allow him to pursue. Because obviously, hey, listen, if he had failed, if it hadn't gone the way that he thought, he always has the option of going back to school, getting his GED, going and doing something else. The option's always there. We forget about that there is always that option, that they can go back and they can pick up where they left off. But those kinds of ideas, that kind of energy, that he has, and he had in his vision, has to be and really should be honored. Of course, he was 17. Mm-hmm. I guess it would have been a different story if it had been 11. However, I have seen 10 and 11-year-olds that had brilliant business minds. It was a number of years ago, a number of decades ago, actually, that I saw an interview of a young man who was, I think he was like 9 or 10, and had this business acumen that was really crazy, and all these business ideas, and several of them he had started, and he had lists of things, of businesses that he considered to be $1 million businesses that he kept track of, that he just kept noting. He kept a journal, and he was already successful before he was even 12 years old. Pretty interesting. Mm-hmm. But this is the world we live in. Scott, we'll have to revisit that conspiracy theory at some particular point in time. However, this is, for me, again, been an eye-opener, and I think that in my view, the connection between the pineal gland and our happiness is one that we all should really explore. In the meditation aspect of things, I wish more people would meditate. I was talking to someone just yesterday about that idea, that what meditation really can do for you. There's a plethora of things, benefits that are involved in it, and for some reason it still has this woo-woo kind of concept associated with it. And I know there's some people out there trying to work against that to make sure that, to break those myths about meditation. And we're going to need to do a show where we talk more about just meditation and what people can expect and how they can go about it, and the different possibilities, the ways of pursuing it, of quieting your mind, of creating a single-minded focus, where you're allowing yourself to connect with your higher self, and in this case, benefit your pineal gland and everything else that's associated with meditation, to kind of take away some of that stigma. That would be kind of a nice idea with you, Scott.
Right. No, Scott. Oh, go ahead, Scott. I apologize. Go ahead.
I was going to say a couple of things I was thinking about as you were speaking here, Michael, especially. Everything is symbolic of something larger, right? And so our own chakra system, who is not perfect, and has problems now, is represented on larger and larger scales, such as the educational system, as we call it. You can say whatever you want. It's in disarray. And what is that doing really for humanity as a whole? It's disconnecting us with Source. And so one of the things that's happening to our world as a whole is the fact that the seventh ray is becoming more and more prevalent in this world period. And what that really means is the seventh ray means matter and heaven are meeting together. Heaven and spirituality, matter and spiritual, coming together to produce a new thing. Well, if you can stop that from happening to humankind, you've really slowed down in the evolution of consciousness in humans. But the seventh ray itself is going to be really kind of representation of a larger, call it humanity's pineal gland. And so as this becomes more and more prevalent, the energy of matter and spirit are going to come together and produce a properly functioning pineal gland. That may be a little out there in ways, but it really symbolically is the same thing.
Wonderful.
Yeah, I wanted to mention to our audience, Scott, that you actually brought forth your own form of healing called life stream healing, which works basically to in my opinion, to reconnect ourselves and to really bring the energies back and to make us whole. I'd love for you to share a little bit with the audience about what you do with life stream healing and how it could help bring forth their own inner light, and how you assist different clients and in bringing themselves back to wholeness, as well as how people can get in touch with you, if you don't mind. I just think that it's really important because sometimes it's, for me anyway, it's helpful to have a coach, a mentor, somebody to guide me, and both of you guys are on that team, and I so deeply appreciate you. So, Scott, would you mind sharing a little bit about that?
Well, for me, my type of healing mostly uses the third eye, if you will, and the energy of that, but it has to be combined with the heart energy. And by projecting that energy upon a person's diseased part of their body, you can affect healing. So the trick there is finding the combination of chakras that need to be activated in such a way to bring total healing back. And so, again, by looking at somebody in kind of, I won't say meditative, but a higher level of thinking, if you will, you can begin to see where problems have manifest in their physical being, both physical and physical. And so by taking that energy primarily through the pineal gland and projecting onto someone, you're affecting healing. And if we're, as a humanity as a whole and people independently, if we're having a problem with that, this is the next step that we need to do, is find out how to get ourselves aligned, completely aligned in such a way that we can take this healing energy, which is natural soul energy, and project it outward of our body onto another. It doesn't have to be people either. It can be inanimate objects, animals, etc. They're benefiting from the soul energy.
It's amazing.
I agree. I agree 100%. You're giving us, you're tapping into some ideas that can help move us forward as a species, and culturally and consciously. And that's what we need right now. There's so much disarray, so much disconnection, so much separation that we need to.
I tell some people in this life stream healing, you don't have to be down to the very nitty-gritty of that. You can some basic triangles energy are very powerful. Let the more completed part of that system come to it. But if you have, for instance, like the head, the heart, and your hands, those are chakras, right? And as you manifest energy through those critical energy, then you'll perfect much more powerful healing than just trying to do a one-to-one method with trying to work on one part of the body. You've got to use, I'm not making this mistake, you've got to take the different critical energies and combine those to get more power.
Wow.
Do you talk about this on your website? Yeah.
Yeah, I do.
Talk about this, kind of explain this in a little more detail. Livestreamhealing.com, is it?
Yeah, that's right.
Livestreamhealing.com. Awesome.
Right. And also,
awesome.
Yeah. And also on Instagram at Livestream Healing. And one of the things that I really admire about you, Scott, because I cannot get through these books that I are teaching. I always joke about it that like I open them up and the pages start to vibrate. Next thing I know, I'm asleep. So you studied a lot and you teach a lot about the rays, the 7 rays, and from my understanding that as we are light and there is no separation, that within our hearts we have these divine inner rays of light. And if you would just, I know it's a big topic, but maybe we can have you back to go through it. But really, what are the 7 rays, and how do they work, and how can we utilize the information about them?
Well, the 7 rays, everything that's built in our whole universe, as we've known, is made of the 7 rays. those are actual beings, if you will, spiritual beings of the highest order. And in our world period, some of these rays are more pronounced than others. We just came from the 6th ray, and now into the 7th ray. What's going to happen now is because you're bringing spiritual energy to pure spirit to pure matter, and when you bring those two together, you're combining or birthing a new thing. And that includes humanity as our whole. Things that are going to happen in the next 2,000 years because of this ray pronouncement is really, there'll be new forms of animals, there'll be new forms of government, everything. All this will be result because of the cycling of the rays in such a way to bring us to our next evolutionary jump. And so,
that's exciting.
It's very,
very hopeful.
Yeah. I mean, you're going from ray 1 to power. Second ray is love. Third is intelligence. 4 is artistic. 5th is scientific. 6th is ideologic. And 7th is ceremonial magic, or the bringing of spirit, power, spirit, and matter together. And they all are manifest all at one time. Some are more pronounced than others. And right now we're on a greater cycle of great of 7th rays. And this has not really been happening at the way it's said in the human history that we know of, in such a way to manifest in this numerical value that's happened. And that in itself leads to alignment. Just like the pineal gland, who's got less than perfect function, the alignment of human being is not less than perfect. But as you work on it more, you get, a better, perfected human being. And so the rays, I mean, we could go on and on for that subject forever. There's so many interesting facts about the rays and how they manifest together and what they form us. They perform the very poetical outlines of our map on Earth on film and in countries. So it's, we can go on and on about this.
Wow. So, and you teach courses on this. When can we sign up?
Yeah.
I'd love to go to delve into some of these teachings. I just, you articulate it so well. Like I said, I have a hard time getting through the books myself, and I really applaud you because you are a master student of and teacher of this information.
Sometime after the new year, I've got a course that I'm putting together for ray healing. And first of all, you have to kind of figure out what your own rays are in your body, your mental, astral, and physical being. But when you get these together, then it gives you an idea of what direction you want to go and the type of healing that you as a person does. You can use the life stream healing in all these different aspects. I've had some health problems that will probably take me to around the end of January before I'm perfectly over those again, and then I'll be able to be putting a course together.
Good for you. Okay, that's awesome. Yeah, we wish you well in that endeavor, moving forward. Get those handled. I mean, we all have our challenges in life, and facing them head on is the way we get through them with a positive attitude. And I know you have that. So we wish you well with all that.
Thank you.
Quite an eye opener. I myself need to do this. A lot of this connects with. We're talking about a lot of things right now that are not completely related to the 3D world, which is where everybody is spending their time in the 3D world with their own lives. And the whole idea, to me, the thing I'm most fascinated by, and I think I work on more than anything else in my life, is how do I balance the two? how do I balance being able to keep my chakras energized, now I'm in terms of meditation, making sure that I keep that rolling, and, dealing with the challenges that people face on a daily basis. They get up and they go to work. A lot of people don't really like what they do. So that impacts their body. That impacts their ability to connect with other people, to develop relational connections, and to just simply be happy and satisfied with life in general. And in my view, what you're going to put together in the next year with live stream healing can give people another sense of purpose in their life as well. Something that, because we all have to start thinking about the whole. We have to think about whole consciousness, about the oneness that we all have versus the separation. And if we can do that, and we can just do our part, it starts within us, and then we can project it outward to other people. Is what we constantly are saying is that it begins with us. It begins within us, and that's the beauty of it. That's the control that we have. We can impact our outer world in an incredibly positive way, and the consciousness of the planet and the universe in a positive way if we just ourselves stop saying, hey, it's somebody else's job. I don't have, I can't do that. It's too big for me. It's not too big for you, because it really involves you. It really involves you. And you're the main benefactor. And supplementarily, everybody else benefits as well, all the people who are around you. So
for the last 3.5 years, I've been trying to figure a way that psychically, because I am a psychic as well, how I can get an accurate representation for a person that I read for of what their raised characters are. And I couldn't do this before because, frankly, on a deep level, I was told not to go there because I didn't have the information that I needed.
Really?
Just lately, I'm working with someone here in Sedona, and we're working with and I've been able to, for the first time, be able to see clairvoyantly in my psychic ability what their rays are. I was very excited.
Wow.
And the reason why it happened for me, again, I've been working with this for a long time, figuring, well, before I could get an idea of what someone's rays were, I say, well, okay, that seems right, but it doesn't seem like the info that I'm coming against was not quite right. And I thought, well, what is this? Well, after having a stroke that affected my speech center, then I was kind of split between sides of my mind, the intuitive side and the everyday speaking, mind, right, that I have. And when this happened to me, I was able to separate the two in a way that I've never experienced until this happened. And when that happened, I began to focus more on the intuitive side of myself during meditation and in my readings. And when I did that, I've always been an intuitive person, but when I became more channeled it more separately, so to speak, then this information began coming to me, and I was reading several people now that wanted to work with me, and I'm getting what I believe is their true representation of their ray configuration. And before, 3 or 4 years ago, I had an idea what it was, but I'm more in the logical mind thinking that now versus the intuitive. And because what's happened to me, I've gone completely more toward the intuitive side of myself. And when that happens, when I'm reading some psychically or clairvoyant, I actually see the representation of the rays in a person's body. I believe what I'm seeing that is very exciting. It's kind of new age stuff. And by knowing that, then you can use your own method of healing, not only for yourself, but around people around you.
That's wonderful. That's incredible. Yeah,
and it is.
It's
awesome.
It is. To me, so many times, our inner glow can come out effortlessly. We can turn our light on or dim it. We can brighten it or dim it. And I think right now, during the holidays, we all have a full to-do list, and We just need to really be mindful to let our inner light guide us instead of the stress. And try to keep your frequency high. I think that when you do, you'll attract other people. And when I'm walking, I sort of unconsciously do this. I see babies all the time, and they just gravitate, and they smile at me, and I interact with them because I think they're very clean, and their energy has not been, so they do see the light. They see those rays that Scott's talking about. And, if you have that opportunity to interact with a child and really,
maybe that's what they look at people. They're seeing it. They're actually characteristics on a higher spiritual level. As babies and children, we learn not to pay more attention.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
we could go there. Babies, children, young adults, basically. Children can see things, of course, and that's the beauty of it. They can see things. And we just have to believe that that's what they're seeing and not discourage them from seeing, because it can really help you later in life, of course, as we know.
Yeah.
This is awesome.
Yeah.
It's been wonderful talking with you.
Yeah, I know. This has been amazing. I mean, we have to continue the conversation because it is a big topic, but I'm so grateful. Every little piece of the puzzle that unfolds, we learn a little bit more about shining our light and really understand that it's a journey and not just a destination, that it's a lifelong gift to be able to shine your light and stand in your power and really realign with your true frequency of who you are and what you came to do. And that, in my opinion, is to shine your light and to connect with other souls. So, Michael, I'll let you sign off. Scott, I'm so grateful for you making the time to connect with us today. And Michael, you're getting ready to shine your light in another part of the world, and you have a big journey ahead of you. And I'm so grateful to be able to share this time with you.
Well, you've given me something. Scott's given me something else to focus on while I'm out running around the Caribbean Ocean somewhere on a ship. Having a little more time than I normally have, my to-do list will be significantly shorter, and I'll be able to focus more. And it's given me something to focus on beyond what I was already going to focus on. But to our listeners out there, much appreciation for your taking the time to listen to us and to share us with those you know. And for those of you who want to hear this again, because there was some really great information within this podcast with Scott. Thank you, Scott. Go to Connect to Love, Connect and the number 2 and Love on your favorite podcast distribution network. You can catch it there and listen to it and share it with people that you know. Thank you so much. Much gratitude for your listenership.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you all.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, Scott.
on.